I'm the only one here.
Do you think it's gonna be too dark in here?
I think we'll suffer.
Okay, that's fine. Because there's a full table with
Okay,
chairs.
so
in
maybe
the light.
we can move over there. Okay. Oh, great. Okay, perfect. Hi, Mike.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, sorry about that. Elise and I, we all got locked out of the building. So that's why we're on the little screen, not the big screen. Okay. Um, I would wait for Alec, but we only have 25 more minutes.
Alec just told me he has a work conflict, so he won't be here.
All right. Well, then this is quorum.
Do you have quorum?
Yep, it's Elise and me. Oh, let me turn off the blur. Oh, why is it doing that?
So quorum in.
Apologies for getting uncomfortably close.
No, it's cute. So quorum is.
But I'm here.
Quorum is 50% of your committee?
Oh, well, hold on. Well, Alec was always going to abstain. Do we need him to vote?
So Cliff said you and I
We're four.
four.
Oh,
Is Alec or not?
Alec just said he has a work thing. Cliff is definitely not coming.
We can't. Then there's nothing we can do.
Okay, let me just. That still counts. Okay, let me just call Alec and just see if there's anything, if he can join at all, even just to abstain.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know he wasn't coming.
Alec, is there any way you can join? If I know you're going to abstain, if you could even just log into the Zoom.
We need a quorum.
Because we need quorum. That is 100% fine. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye. Bye. Alec's going to join.
Great.
Okay. All right. I want to start with voting for warrant article 24. That seems like the easiest one.
Okay.
And then I guess we can hop into talking about Ben's email. Let me bring up warrant article 24 and the changes made to that.
Is anyone else in the room there, just so I can have a sense of who's present?
Oh, Harry Friedman is physically in the room, but he's not part of this meeting.
Okay.
He's on the phone. He's gonna step out soon.
Okay.
He's only here because AC's meeting at 6:30.
Sure.
Okay. All righty. I have a warrant. Where did this go? What is this? This is 12. Okay, where's?
Thank you for sharing your laptop with me, by the way.
Yeah, no, of course. 24. Okay. For some ungodly reason, I can't find the version that's not clean of 24, the one that has all your outlines in it. Oh, admit, Alec, leave it. Don't save. Track changes. Here we go.
Oh, perfect.
All right. Okay. All right. I have your track changes up, Mike. Do you mind just like verbalizing them so we can just have it on record?
Do you mind turning it up?
Yes, I can.
Sure. So we changed a few words in the final whereas clause and in the final resolved clause. In both cases, we changed them from the concept of monitoring to.
We're listening. There's just more people coming into this room, so we're going to go next door just so there's not no noise.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay. Mike, I'm so sorry. This is just,
I know this is not fair to you.
This is not fair to you.
Okay. I'm totally fine. I'm sorry for you guys having to run around.
We are listening. Warrant article 24, and we have the track changes up on the screen. Please walk us through them.
Great. So in the final whereas clause and in the final resolve clause, in both cases, we changed the concept of the phrasing of monitoring because that
Okay.
evoked some concerns in this among at least one select board member who worried that their emails were being monitored.
I remember that discussion.
Oh, okay. And instead we talked about evaluation, which is really what we had meant. Like, let's periodically assess how well these training and reminders are actually working to get people to use this solution of copying this archives email address, which was the solution that Chaz and Feng discussed with Alec and me as an alternative to requiring everyone to have brooklinemath.gov email addresses. That's it.
All right, that makes sense to me. I see, and the effectiveness of each. I see that you crossed out usage were routinely monitored and replaced it with, well, the next line, and the effectiveness of such training and reminders were periodically evaluated. That makes sense to me. And then I also see, again, to your point, the last paragraph, removal of monitoring and the inclusion of and evaluations.
I see those as well.
Great. I don't have any further questions on that. Elise, do you have any further questions?
Not on the edits. Not on the edits, not at all.
Okay. Subcommittee member and co-petitioner, Mr. Leibovitz, do you have any edits or anything you'd like to say?
No, I just, my apologies. I'm in transit, so I'm as much as I should. Thank you, Mike. I think you know the changes. And we're working hard to reach a consensus here and make sure all the stakeholders are on board. And I think what we've got before you tonight is an improved product. So would encourage people to vote.
All right. That makes sense to me. Seems like the warrant article is not materially changed. You guys have already met with CIO Yang. All right. This makes sense to me. I think, does anyone want to motion for a vote?
I would like to motion for a vote. I also want to point out that the moderator is also in agreement with these changes.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Elise.
And I would like to motion for a vote. I think this is a great article.
Seconded. All right, let's go ahead and vote. All right, so Elise, how would you like to vote?
Yes.
Favorable action.
Abstain, please.
All right, Alec is abstaining, and I will vote yes, favorable action. All right, so that was for warrant article 24. Okay, now let's move on to warrant article 12 with the remaining time that we have. I would like to bring up a communication that we received. I forwarded it to all of you from Ben Kaufman. In short, what Ben had to say, he did not send many. I had requested that the town clerk send hard numbers since he had disagreed with the numbers presented at the select board hearing. And he replied that the best estimate he could give for the operational cost would be the cost of reviewing and redacting the requests, as well as the cost to summarize or itemize responsive documents. In short, he said that he believed there's a mismatch in misunderstanding between the time estimates for public records requests from last year and the time estimates for post April 26, 2026, because of the new ADA compliance. He mentioned not only operational costs, but that because our system, FOIA Direct, was a binary system and didn't have the type of nuance that, say, other platforms would have, that in order to really meet the requirements of the warrant article, he anticipated it would mandate switching technology platforms, which he didn't have hard numbers for, but recommended would, take quite a bit of IT time, as well as installing a new platform, et cetera. He went through that he believed that would cost, he had mentioned that the staff time estimates to review, redact, and summarize or itemize the responses was estimated at 15 minutes per request. There were 480 requests submitted to the town in 2025, meaning this is 120 additional hours of work. And so based on that rough calculation we had done at our March 30th meeting, we had estimated it would be around $12,000 a year additional cost. However, he feels, again, that is an undercounting considering the much more rigorous ADA requirements in place and much more rigorous need to redact PII or protected personal identifiable information. So he identified that per his estimate, he didn't provide hard numbers, but that it would be significantly more than $12,000 a year. I would love to turn the conversation to the petitioners to see if they have any response or any amendment they'd like to make to the warrant article.
Sure. So first of all, thanks to Ben for responding today. So Margaret, I sent you the revised petitioner motion,
Yes.
which is quite a bit different from the original warrant article, but within scope, according to the moderator. So I want to make sure you're looking at that.
Yes, I see it.
We have it up here.
Okay. So the key piece here is that we now have definitions and which lists out, because we had sought but have not ever actually received information from the clerk's office about exactly what are the fields that would be revealed or not revealed in the FOIA Direct system. So we used we did research on other towns that use FOIA Direct and drew this from those other towns, what's revealed on their websites that use FOIA Direct that have not switched it to private like we have chosen to do. And so we've listed out the fields that we actually think should be included. For requests, is the requester name, the request date, the department to which the request was made, and the text of the request. Notice that excludes any PII. In fact, if you've ever issued a public records request, these are actually in the fields of the FOIA Direct system when you enter in information. It does separately, in separate fields, ask you for phone number and email address, which we're not asking to be disclosed, and which other communities don't disclose either. So that's on the request. But perhaps even more importantly, on the response side, we originally had asked in our warrant article to include the documents of the response, given the concerns expressed to us by the clerk and town council about this ADA, and I'll come back to that, requirement that they would need to make sure everything's accessible, and that would be very costly if we posted responses on the website. We opted to back down from that request and instead ask for a mere summary of the response. That summary could be, for example, we provided the documents requested. It could be we responded to the first part, but the second part, our search turned out empty. This is the type of response that summarizes, this is the type of summaries that we envision would satisfy the public's interest in knowing whether the issue was responded to. Maybe they'd say this public record request cannot be responded to because it's not subject to public records laws, like a birth certificate, for example. So that's what we mean by a brief description of the response provided, including a list of any public records provided. So that would be, for example, if I say I want a list of engineering documents for my home, if that's public record, I don't actually know. And you can say, well, we provided the engineering documents. That's what we're talking about with the response. So the response now is that it's the response date, the department that responded, and a brief description of the response. So that's what we're asking to be public.
Okay, sorry, apologies for interrupting. So just for clarification purposes, so the then source or resource would be from I guess the Ben's office as a whole, as opposed to an individual person. Does that make sense?
Do you mean the source of who's typing this in?
Yes, because the translation of I'm trying to think how to say this. So the translation of if a request comes in and someone in the office says or reads it and says XYZ, that interpretation is dependent upon that individual, right?
You
So
mean a
are we
FOIA
saying,
record officer? There's a thing called a FOIA records officer.
okay, and that then would be the source? Is that what you're saying?
I presume that's how the process works in town hall.
Okay.
We've not been given that level of detail of instruction of how the
Ah,
process
I
currently
see.
works. But we're not suggesting the process should work any differently than it works today.
Okay, yep, okay, yep.
And so to the point of this requiring an alternative software, I don't think so, because these fields are already in FOIA Direct. And so it would be a matter of simply, perhaps monthly, exporting from FOIA Direct these fields, which are already typed into FOIA Direct, and create a spreadsheet and post it on the town clerk's office or the public records website, however they want to do it. So that would make this available. Just this information is all we're asking for. And the typing it in could continue to be done in FOIA Direct. So no need, from my perspective, for any software change. This avoids the whole question about the need for information to be complicated information to be publicly accessible, because this, whether this is a spreadsheet or a PDF or whatever, it's the same as any other document that the town will post on their website once this new law takes effect. So this is no engineering documents, no graphics, no complicated 1,000-page documents. It's a list. It's a tabular list. So the final thing I'll just note is that I learned this week when I was talking to the Massachusetts Department of Disability that this law that's coming into effect has just been postponed for a year. So to the extent that that is anyone's concern anyway, it ought not be a concern for a year. Nonetheless, what we're asking for is it's kind of immune now to whether that law comes in or not, because this is quite straightforward.
And just briefly, I would add that we've provided in our explanation of the article an example of another community using FOIA Direct that has actually provided not just the information we're requesting through this bylaw, but additional information for each of their requests. And they've done that simply by putting the public view option on their FOIA Select platform. Yeah. So the notion that we would need a different software to do this, I would say strains credulity. I think if we are committed to doing this and enforcing this bylaw, we can do it with FOIA Direct. There are other communities going even further currently with FOIA Direct, and they're doing it without, I'd say, complications to the implementation that we are happy to adopt to accommodate our town clerk's office.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mike, by any chance, would you have, I'll be sure to Google this on my own, but if you had some sort of reference to the ADA compliance in Massachusetts being pushed up by a year, that would help me out a lot when writing up this updated write-up, just ahead of the May 7th AC meeting. And then I think the last question I have is wanting to make sure that I understand exactly what fields will be included in this tabular summary of responses.
Yeah, they're all listed right there in the definition of the requests and responses in the bylaw itself.
We're scanning it now.
Yeah, I'm scanning it now.
Yep.
Okay.
Is it the clean version or the messy version, track version? I
think I only got, this is the one that you just sent 2 days ago. Public Record Transparency Motion under WA 12 draft 2026-04-21. I don't see like tracked changes on this, but what I do see is a section that's new called Comparison to Petitioner's Original Warrant Article.
Oh, sorry, are you looking at the April 21st version?
Yes. Is that the wrong version?
No, that's correct. So if you look back to the article, so just scan your eyes up two rows here. It says Article X.X in boldface.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I am looking at the wrong section. Requests include, so let me make sure I got this right. Requests includes the requester name, the request date, the department to which the request is made, and the text of the request.
Correct.
And then response includes response date, the department that responded, and a brief description of the response provided, including a list of any public record shared. Just to confirm, that is correct?
That is correct. And we use the word includes because this is the minimum bar. If, for example, the software they use includes additional variables that they want to include in the public disclosure, fine with us. So we chose the word specifically, and we chose the word include specifically just for that purpose.
Okay. And again, I think just to make sure we have it for public record, what I'm hearing, there's a Jane Flanagan, admit. Hello, Jane. So what I'm hearing is that, again, really I think like the two large categories of expense I was hearing here was one, FOIA Direct not having really limited functionality. You have avoided that. And what you've pointed out is that the software does have the ability to create these tables and use just a simple export Is like, that's the first bit. And the
That's
second
my
bit that I
assumption. Oh, sorry, if I may just.
oh, so,
one
yeah,
at a time.
please.
So
Mhm.
this is my assumption. We've gotten no information from staff, despite our requests, about the functionality of this
Okay.
software system. So it is currently an assumption that you can export from FOIA Direct.
Okay.
But you have made that assumption based on another neighboring community having that functionality listed on their website. But just by them being able to, using FOIA Direct, putting public view as an option on their website, that has led you to make this assumption?
No, these are two separate issues. I'm sorry that this is
Okay.
confusing.
I
So
apologize.
no, it's our fault. It's so the other, when Alec was referring to the other communities, they are just using FOIA Direct itself to reveal all this
They're
information.
not exporting.
But that information includes the documents. Given the hesitation of staff to include the documents because of the pending, although now not urgently pending,
Yeah.
concern about the accessibility issues, if they wanted to not include the documents, our suggestion is they could just export these fields, presuming that FOIA Direct can do that, and then post it in a PDF or a text file or a Excel sheet or whatever. They currently do have the option of just using FOIA Direct like other communities in our explanation do. That is totally their choice. There's no
So if I'm-
longer any urgent concern about
They're too
making it
here.
accessible.
Okay, so if I'm hearing this correctly, so to the point of any questions about who's doing the interpretation, there is no interpretation. You can just directly do this export from the system. It doesn't have to go through a staff member for redactions. Is that,
Okay,
'cause
so
there's
no,
nothing to
this,
redact.
there's nothing to redact, right?
Yeah, like, it's not including images.
Okay,
right. In this case, there's nothing to redact. In our smaller list, there's nothing to redact. If
okay,
you were,
yeah,
if you were to take, for example, an email or a letter that someone wrote and didn't use the system, but wrote with a letter and sent it in to town clerk or to IT or to any of the record officers that included someone's name and home address and phone
Right.
numbers, you
Mhm.
can't, and if you wanted to upload that document into FOIA Direct, you would then have to redact.
Yep.
But
With all that's
that's not
PII.
what we're
okay,
talking about.
got it. Okay, thank you for that
All right,
clarification.
I think
Yep.
I'm understanding that there are
Yep.
two possible paths here. One is just the tabular option of doing an export. We just need to confirm with town staff that is a possible functionality. We presume it is. Another option would be, like another community, would be directly posting it online. Again, we understand the pain point there was the ADA compliance. Since that has been postponed by a year, perhaps town administration would feel differently, considering that at the time that we had the conversation last time, that was going to happen in less than 30 days. Now it's going to happen, and it sounds like around 365. So it sounds like we have two different paths here to potentially being able to do our civic duty and provide transparency about public records, without having the operational issues of having to have one person spend hours doing all this redaction, and functionality with the software. So it sounds like those are those are the two paths, and that's how the warrant article has been updated. Is that okay? So that's okay. Alec is giving a thumbs up. Sounds like that's the way to update the write-up. Okay, great. Well,
Perfect.
are there any more questions from the rest of the subcommittee?
No, that answers it for me.
Anything the petitioners would like to say?
Well, I do think we should talk about cost.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
Okay. So, if we look at how other communities who make their FOIA directs publicly visible, they are already using sometimes the response content field, which can summarize the response. Now, in some cases, because they're also providing the document, it says something as limited as please see attached document. In our case, if we wanted to use this in a way that was more descriptive, because please see the attached document is meaningless to the public if we can't see the document, they would have to say something like, we've enclosed the 3 documents you requested, A, B, and C. Or we've enclosed the first document you requested, but not the second and third. That's the level of detail, given that the request will be present to reference. That's the level of detail that we imagine being required to enter into this existing field in FOIA Direct. So it is hard for me to understand how exactly, on average, it could take 15 minutes to do any of this, because most of this you're already doing. You're already using FOIA Direct to log the requests, and there's different fields for name and phone number and email. And in the response, this information about the date of response, that's a field. The response department, that's a field. And the response content, which is what we're suggesting should be used for summaries, is also a field. So it should be that all these fields in the dark right now in this privacy setting are already being completed. So the only thing additional that's actually required is to export the particular fields you want, or maybe if it only allows you to export all the fields, fine, you export all the fields, and then you take a minute to delete the columns that are inappropriate, and then you post it to the website. If we're in a world where that takes 15 minutes times the number of requests, we've got bigger problems.
So what is your time estimate on this? I hear what you're saying and everything you're saying makes sense. What is the approximation of time that you're suggesting given?
I think this is, Alex can correct me, but so if we do this monthly, because we now stretch the deadline in the report to, we say 30 days, which allows you to do it monthly, because it'll be no longer than 30 days. So imagine doing this 12 times. You have to hit like file export. You have to find the file, perhaps delete some columns, and then you have to upload it to the website. Maybe that's, I don't know, 10 minutes. And so 10 minutes is a sixth of an hour, 12 times, 2 hours, $100 an hour, $200. Alex, you can check my math. What do you think?
I have to say, I mean, I find that more credible than, frankly, the estimates we're getting. This just gets back to my comment earlier. There are communities that are doing this for free right now, using the same software that we have. So I think if this bylaw passes, we will be able to find out a cost minimized way to implement it. And I have to think that given the fact that the product we are asking for has already been produced for a full year once at a cost of $2,400, that the idea that it's going to cost something like 6 times that is, it again, strains credulity.
I mean, my estimate, if we used FOIA Direct, which we are already using, and simply switched it from private to visible, is this would take 0 time.
Okay.
Because there's no exporting process. And from what I can tell, that's the only piece. There is no need to redact if you're using FOIA Direct, because FOIA Direct's public-facing information does not include PII. So I think there's just a fundamental misunderstanding, perhaps in what we were asking, or perhaps in the capabilities of FOIA Direct. I'm not quite sure. But so my estimate is FOIA Direct, 0 cost. The manual process that I outlined of exporting to and then posting on the website, 10 minutes per month, 2 hours, that's 2 hours per year.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the cost review. That was very helpful.
Yeah.
Great, but I am interested. I mean, it's going to be up to you to document your own assessment to AC and ultimately to town meeting of your own estimate of the cost. You have 2 very different cost estimates that have been provided to you between staff and us right now. And I'm interested in how you're thinking about, you could and probably should report both, but at some point AC should be taking its own posture on what it thinks is a reasonable estimate.
In my write-up, I'll report both, just out of fairness. I will also just confirm online that the ADA has been pushed back. The ADA requirement has been pushed back by a year. Again, if you have a link to that, that'd be really helpful.
I'm sending it to you right after our call. Yeah.
Thank you so much. My read on the situation was there was a lot of emphasis placed on manual work to do PII redactions ahead of this ADA requirement. And so I think two things, if that requirement is not going to be implemented in 3 days, as was originally expected, and two, if there's a software workaround to get around that, then it seems as if we don't need to use the numbers and the estimations for manual labor as high as prior. And also, so I think so the first recommendation on using FOIA Direct, I think the most impactful piece of information for me there is that other communities are already doing this. So we already have a proof point that this functionality exists when other communities have it posted on their website. So that's just, for me, more impactful than estimates of how much time it would take. If we know another community already has it, that to me is really impactful. Of course, I think there's probably going to be a lot of pushback from the administration regarding your estimates for the exports. But I think, because we are dependent upon the administration to confirm that's even a functionality, I could see there being some tension there. But I think what I will largely focus my report on is we know for a fact there is functionality to post online. And we know that, at least to our knowledge, that is not a paid function or a paid feature of FOIA Direct. We know how much time from the town clerk, how much it would take to do manual redactions. The amended warrant article no longer calls for that level of redaction, and it's also reducing the requirement of how quickly those redactions need to be turned around. So you've reduced the volume of time redactions need to happen, and you've also reduced like the individual number of redactions. So overall, that would naturally reduce the time investment. So yeah, I'll report both out, but I also just think this is also technically the law that we respond to this. And I also hear, you and Alex point in the board, I should say the petitioner's point that the state won't be enforcing this as much. It's really going to be responsible for us to protect our own communities and hold our own governments responsible for like making sure that they're responding to these public records requests, that we have records, that things have been responded to. So I think that to me is also like a really important part of having a functional democracy, is being able to say to those in charge that all of us have elected, all of us have paid. Did you do what we all agreed to do to have a functional society? I just think that's a really important check and balance on any democracy.
We couldn't agree
Transparency
more.
is key.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
So let
All
me
right,
tell
good.
you what I'm sending you, okay, just so you know, and so
thank you.
Elise can also know. So I'm going to send you information that I received from the Massachusetts Office of Disability, and there's
Okay.
with links. So one of them is the new interim rule is pushed back the compliance date to April 26th, 2027. And for municipalities of our size, of 50,000, I think, or above, so it's us. Smaller entities get another year, and a link to that. Also to note that that will affect documents posted from that day forward. So we're not
Okay.
incurring liability over the next year by posting non-accessible information.
Okay, what
Okay.
day was that again?
That's April 26th, 2027.
Okay, so no liability if.
And then it takes effect forward-looking. There are going to be some backward-looking requirements if the information is still actively used. Like if we have guidelines on how to file a permit on our website and we posted that today and it's active in a year from now, that's still going to be an active type of website where citizens need to know that information. So that information will need to be made accessible, but that's of a different type than the type that we're discussing today.
Great.
Okay, and finally, these requirements for accessibility extend not just to the municipality's own website, but to also third-party platforms that the municipality uses to post municipal information. So it will also apply to FOIA Direct. So you can imagine every other community of, I can't remember, it's 40,000 or 50,000, who face this same deadline in a year, will be working hard with FOIA Direct to figure out how do we ensure compliance. And it hard to know, but we could certainly use FOIA Direct in the interim for months at a time for free, and then decide whether we like their solution for accessibility as it develops, or if we don't, we go to this posting of the spreadsheet.
Okay. All right. I mean, it sounds to me like you guys made a warrant article, you heard feedback from the town, and you amended it to achieve your goal while also being conscientious to their limitations. So that sounds fair to me. Does anyone want to, are there any more comments? I know we're a little bit late to AC now, so I do want to
Mhm.
rush us up. I know that you have something at 7, Mike. Are there any more questions from subcommittee or petitioners or comments?
Not for me.
Okay, great. Does anyone want to raise a motion to vote on the amended warrant article?
How do I do the motion to vote? What's the exact language?
I'd like to move, you'd say, I'd like to move favorable action.
I'd like to move favorable action.
Okay, seconded.
Okay.
Okay, Elise, how do you vote?
Yes, favorable.
I'm going
action.
to abstain, sorry.
Thank you, Alec. And then I will vote yes, favorable action. All right, I will update both of those write-ups and get them to you. Thank you guys so much for staying a little bit late.
Thank
Sorry
you
for the
what was my-
shambolicness of the start of this meeting.
Thank
Have a
you for
good
my-
evening.
Thank you for my favorite AC meeting ever.
All right, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.